in Korea. Obviously, APEC kicked off formally with our formal plenary with the 21 economies that are represented. There was also a chance to do some more bilaterals. We had 2 with UAE and with Brunei, which are particular focuses on how we attract investment from those countries into New Zealand. And then obviously I've literally just come back in walked straight down from having met with President Prabowo from Indonesia. We met for over an hour just discussing how we can drive more export and more trade as a result as well. So, and then tonight our gala dinner, and then tomorrow back into a second session with APEC as well, and a few more. We'll try and catch up some people on the margins as well.
So how strongly will you be pushing for a trip to Indonesia before the end of this term?
Yeah, we talked about that. It's just a question of our teams. We've agreed our teams will try and work at it again. We actually did, as you probably heard him say at the top of the meeting, have something set up, and then because of domestic priorities that he had to deal with, we had to cancel that, and we couldn't make it work again around our schedules. He's pretty busy, I'm pretty busy, but we are determined either he'll come to New Zealand or I'll get to Indonesia, and I'm very confident that'll happen before the end of the term.
Prime Minister, did you advocate on behalf of Anthony de Melange when you were in there with the talks?
Yeah, look, I don't go into the detail of what I do discuss in these meetings, as I've said before and explained before. I appreciate it's a difficult situation for this New Zealander. I want to say that they have had a huge amount of consular support over the last few years, or since their case, or since they were convicted, and they continue to receive ongoing consular support from the New Zealand Embassy as well. We, as you know, do not have a prisoner swap policy, and we won't have one. And it's just a very good reminder to all New Zealanders, frankly, that they need to adhere to and be compliant with the laws of the countries that they're visiting. So our officials and our consular advice and support will continue to be in place.
Did Gaza come up at all?
Sorry?
Did Gaza come up at all?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right.
No.
This was quite a long bilateral. You've had much shorter ones this week. Why is that? Why this one so long?
Oh, just actually, our first one was the same. Actually, it was. There's a lot to cover off. He was a new president when I met him a year ago, so I've met him twice in the year and a bit that he's been president, and we had talked a lot at that time about what he was hoping to do domestically with his agenda inside Indonesia. I was talking a lot about what I was trying to do domestically within our agenda in New Zealand at home, and also then trying to find the areas of collaboration, and we think there's a huge amount of areas of collaboration. As you heard us both probably acknowledge at the top of our remarks, it's that we think there's more opportunity that we haven't fully exploited, and yet we need to be able to do that. And so we went through the different areas, whether it's in education, food security, areas where we think we can collaborate and work in a much better way. And how do we use the architecture that we've got, which is we've got this RCEP, which is our free trade agreement. We've got the ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand FTA, which we just upgraded. And we've also got these comprehensive strategic partnerships with ASEAN. So, we've got the mechanisms in place, and we just want to say, well, how do we... And our trade has grown 10%, but we think it could grow a lot faster and a lot more.
How has trade with the UAE been going after that agreement that I believe was ratified in August?
Yes, and it's just come into force in the UAE itself. They've just ratified it. That is a huge opportunity for New Zealand. As you know, they import 90% of their food. It's a huge economy, and so there's a huge opportunity for our premium products and services to go there, and we're really looking forward to that taking effect in the next 12 months and our exporters having the benefit of that. The other part to the UAE, which I was very excited to secure at the beginning of this year, was actually what's called a bilateral investment treaty. There's only 16 countries that have that with the UAE, and as you know, Abu Dhabi is the capital of capital. They have $3 trillion New Zealand dollars to spend and invest around the world, and we want to attract some of that investment to help us build the roads, the hospitals, and other public infrastructure we want to build in New Zealand. So again, we've got a very good relationship, which we built in January this year, across a range of, not just with His Majesty, but also with other ministers as well. And we'll have a subsequent set of visitors coming from the UAE as well to look at investable opportunities.
Were you a bit offended when the leader of Chile said that New Zealand had between 10 to 12 million people? You had to correct him there.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. He thinks we're bigger than we are. It's good.
The Green Economy Agreement you launched this morning. We're doing a lot more of those deals now, where it's starting with a handful of countries or even less and trying to drag more people in. What does that say about the state of the international trading system, organisations like the WTO and APEC, that's how we're having to prioritise things?
The reason we're really doing that is because it's sort of what I said in my remarks at APEC today to the other 21 leaders, was that the whole point of APEC was that from APEC has birthed a whole bunch of innovation in our trading architecture. if you think about it, it was 20 years ago the P4 was initiated with Brunei, Chile, New Zealand, Singapore, and that ultimately morphed into the TPP and the CPTPP. We started something with Singapore called the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, and now we started something today with the Green Economy Partnership Agreement. So it's more a point of saying, hey, listen, APEC's a really important place, a special place, and we can birth and innovate and incubate new ideas, and actually small countries like us can come together with other countries that are like-minded and actually innovate and think about how we might attack these issues differently. So it's more about the positives of it, and that's actually been the genesis of, now you look at CPTPP, probably the best high-quality, most comprehensive free trade agreement in the world. That's working very effectively, and we now have a number of aspirant countries wanting to apply. That's what I spoke to President Lee about last night from Korea, about his application to want to join CPTPP as well. So it's more about, that's how the genesis of these things start. And as we think about, yes, a challenging world, how we want to reinforce us working together, there's other ideas that we can experiment with and try and surface and get others to buy into over time.
Do you think that's the new normal now, that you kind of have to start small and build your way up rather than try and do it, at a large level?
Yeah, I don't. To be honest with you, Sam, I actually think that's always how it has been. I think ideas are birthed with a few countries that actually have some energy for it, and then others get attracted to it. And it's exactly how the CPTPP, it took a 20-year process, but it actually came from us having pretty much the same idea we had on digital economy or the green economy, and others buying into that and saying, that's a good idea, can I join too? So I think that's just the nature of how these things start. You never start with 21 countries from day one with it all perfectly worked out. You actually need to go on a journey of an idea that turns into a start, that turns into, gets growing and gets built from there.
Don't we see the rumours for greater cooperation between us and Indonesia on food security?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at an economy that is, the fourth biggest population in the world. It's certainly the most significant economy in Southeast Asia. It's part of actually lots of different arrangements. So it's part of ASEAN, it's part of the global south. It has deep connections into the Middle East, obviously. And so for us as a country, it's a key country for us. And I'm proud that our trade has been growing 10%, but we just think there could be turbocharged and do more. And so when you look at areas of education, when you look at areas around dairy, red meat, if you look out over the next 10 years to 2030 or so, I was looking at it just a couple of nights ago, the global supply of, say, red meat or global supply of dairy is actually, the supply is a lot less than the demand will be. And so for the next few years, a lot of these countries are very interested in securing food security for their people, and that's where we come in.
Yeah, did the school lunch program come up at all?
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, as of tomorrow, I think President Prabowo is feeding 40 million kids a day. His goal is to get to 87 million. So it puts some perspective around our 250,000 or 210,000 that we have at home. So, we talked about how he went about that, or how he's going about that, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well. We obviously support it through some NGOs that actually then engage with the with the Indonesian government.
Donald Trump is keen to resume nuclear testing. What's New Zealand's position on that?
Oh, that's something we would discourage. I mean, we are a very proud anti-nuclear country. We are a signatory to the Test Ban Treaty, and frankly, I think there are other ways you can test nuclear weapons than having to actually fire them off.
Considering your new relationship with Donald Trump, would that be something you would try and get a message to him over?
Oh, look, I'm sure in due course, might well be something we've discussed. But our position's pretty clear. I mean, we are, there's been a 50-year program of denuclearisation around the world. This doesn't. We don't want to see a nuclear arms race, and actually there's other ways through computer modelling that you can test your armaments to make sure that they're working in the way they are.
Why do you think he's suddenly wanting to do this?
I don't know. It's something you'd have to talk to him about. But all I can tell you is what my position as Prime Minister of New Zealand would be on that issue.
Prime Minister, did West Papua come up at all with your discussions with Prabowo today?
No, it didn't. No.
Seeing that next year you'll be part of the Forum Troika, would you be part of that mission to West Papua? I know the communique mentioned they're aiming to visit West Papua next year.
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure whether what my involvement will be as part of the Troika of PIF.
Many advocates have called for the independence of West Papua. What's New Zealand's position on that?
Our position is the same as the previous government, which is that we support the sovereignty sovereign territory of Indonesia. Yep.
Prime Minister, you said you were looking to have some informal meetings with some other leaders. Are you hoping where you might meet President Xi tomorrow?
Yeah, look, I'm sure. I mean, I caught up with the new Japanese Prime Minister, Prime Minister Takeyachi. I caught up with Scott Bessent, who's the representative from the US, briefly this morning as well, and a number of other leaders, and I'm sure I will be catching up with President Xi either tonight or tomorrow as well.
Can you give us a flavour of those conversations you had earlier?
In terms of which ones?
The Japanese Prime Minister.
Oh, it was just really, again, building relationship and rapport. She was very warmly received. She was very excited to meet me, and I was her, because she's only been in the job 10 days, and she's she's had a visit from the US president. She's had to do a trade deal, and she's at her first APEC. And so for me, it was just about building relationship with her and talking about we both spoke about the progress that we have been making in defence and security with Japan, and also obviously the trade pieces.
If you do meet with President Xi, what would you, in terms of what that conversation would look like?
Oh, look, I'm not sure. It'll just be how it goes. But I mean, we know each other quite. No, not specifically, but I caught up with Premier Lee when I was in Malaysia. As you know, we've hosted him in New Zealand. We had a very successful visit where I met with both the President and the Premier in late June in China. And I met with him also, had a formal bilateral with him a year ago in Peru as well. So, he's actually been very generous with his time with me, and I know that I can talk to him about things I need to talk to, but it'll just be getting a sense of what his take is on issues across the region, potentially.
How are you for those first leaders talks today? There's some new research out from APEC that shows economic growth in the region slowing off a little bit in 2026. How are leaders feeling? Are they sort of worried?
Yeah, one of the things APEC does is Kristalina, who runs the IMF, gives a bit of a very quick 10-minute sort of rundown as to what's being observed in the global economy and also the APEC economy. You're right, inflation, I think from memory, is around just over 2%. I think growth's just under 3% across the region. So again, that's an imperative for us to say, okay, well, we get to shape where it does go to from here. So I think that we're all struggling with economic challenges that are different by each individual country. We're obviously dealing with a different trading environment than what we've had in recent times. But regardless of that, there was huge unity around actually we need to come together, work together, reinforce and reaffirm the rules-based system, a trading system. I talked about the initiative about the EU and the CPTPP coming together. That event will happen in Melbourne now in Australia in the next few weeks, and that will be a platform for those two big blocks that are very significant global trade to talk about how they will deal with trade and economics and have a mechanism and a dialogue for dealing with that.
Do you have confidence in Peter Crisp? There's further text messages released under the OIA that shows Stuart Nash talked about an alleged deal with him to get some of that story about what he said about women out of the media. Do you have confidence in Peter Crisp?
Absolutely. He's an outstanding CEO. He's done a fantastic job for New Zealand Trade and Enterprise over many, many years, and I think he's an outstanding CEO.
So was there a deal done?
Last one, guys. No, I'll be at this gala dinner with 21 other world leaders, and I'm not. It sort of feels like you're setting me up for we all got an invitation to say come in Halloween theme, and I'm the only guy that then shows up in Halloween costume. But no, I won't be trick or treating out there this evening. So no, thank you very much. Guys. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks for your time.